oh, just bring him back because his gifting and his calling and the prophetic and all the stuff on his life. Character trumps gifting all day long. Wake up and win. Wake up and win. Wake up and win. Wake up. What's up, guys? Blaise here. Welcome to the Wake Up and Win podcast. Hey, look, I'm solo again tonight. Where is my wife? Listen, I've had so many people reach out and be like, dude, when are you guys going to have another conversational podcast? So look, we're just not fully out of the bag, but we are in a pretty massive transition right now. Kind of unexpected, but honestly so exciting and so the Lord. So we're in the midst of a move. And we're packing up our whole house, and we've got some really cool things happening right now that are so the Lord, and it's very, very exciting for us. But that said, it's super, I don't want to say stressful, but yeah, stressful. We've got 3 kids, 6 and under, and we're packing up our house, and we're doing a big move. And anyway, that said, we are having a hard time getting us both up here when all the kids are asleep. As you saw our last episode when we had Judah with us, and had some people comment like, "Oh my gosh, your son is so cute, so beautiful, like love having him there, so real, so down to earth." And other people are like, "I can't focus on the content when your son's there, like running around playing with Crayolas and throwing things in the background." I'm like, dude, you need just a little, you need a grandkid or something. You need a kid in your life. But anyway, that said, she wants you all to know she's not gone, and I want you all to know she's not gone, because I know you wouldn't watch without her anyway. But anyway, yeah. So I definitely know that we are in the process of a massive transition. However, we're going to land soon, and we're going to be able to actually ramp up our activity, which is exciting. And so we've got a lot of really cool things coming soon and exciting things coming soon. I'm just telling you all that to say, I've had so many people comment like, "Hey, I really missed the conversation. The back and forth between you guys allows so much just actually documenting and processing out loud all of this information." So that said, that's not going to stop. We're going to keep doing it. But she's actually taking our little daughter out on a little date tonight, and got the boys to sleep again. So I'm going solo. I told her today, I said, there's so much going on. I just gotta put something out here for the people. And anyway, guys, I'm going to catch you up on some of the IHOP happenings, IHOP KC happenings, and where things are at. It is pretty mind blowing. I want to cover a few things tonight in regards to the advocacy group. If you are brand new to this channel, to this whole episode of IHOP KC since October 27th of the first announcement from stage of Stuart Greaves saying that there have been allegations of Mike Bickle inappropriate activity. If you're new and just kind of coming into it, there's a lot there. Now, I'm not going to tell you go back and watch every episode, but we have definitely documented from the beginning of November to now, and try to do it in such a way. Honestly, guys, I feel like it's one of those things that, I was looking at it today too, and listening to the advocacy group, because they put out some videos today, which is very, very helpful. It's so, so helpful. But I'm looking and hearing of when all this was starting to unfold to some of these folks. At the same time, the Lord was speaking to us about starting a podcast, and we didn't know, we could have known, we had no idea what we were really starting the podcast for. We were just going to talk about anything and everything, business, life, family, faith, whatever. And it's just wild to look at the process there and to know what I went through at IHOP Kansas City. To catch you up, if you don't know, I was in IHOP Kansas City for 4.5 years. I worked directly with Stuart Greaves for 4.5 years. In the Night Watch, the former executive director of IHOP Kansas City, Stuart Greaves, Mike Bickle's right-hand man. I was there. I had a falling out in 2012 due to theology, and then had a confrontation with them. They confronted me multiple times about my theology and about it influencing people at IHOP, which would be considered, like at the time, hyper grace theology, or more Joseph Prince, and then John Crowder and some of those people. And then had a reconciliation with those guys in 2019, and really kind of backtracked a lot of that, had a really good reconciliation, and off and on connection since 2019 till about literally till about October 1st or 2nd. I'm gotta have to look back at my text messages with like Stuart, but we were gonna connect as of like, I think it was September or October of this last year, when he was gonna be, you know, with Chris Reed hanging out, because those guys are buddies. But when all this went down and I watched the way that it was all handled from the ELT, from Stuart Greaves, from Dave Slyker, I went, this is not good. This is not healthy. This is not right. And I listened to what the advocacy group was saying, like Alan Hood, former IHOPU president, Dwayne Roberts, former One Thing director, and a lot of these other guys. I went, something is off here. Something smells fishy. I don't like this. Let's dig into this. And the more and more we dug in, the more and more we saw lie after lie after lie. And just frankly, you know, I watched a ministry go through this even as of recent, without getting into detail. I watched a ministry go through some allegations, and I saw them put together get a third party contracted within 10 days, 10 to 15 days. A third party, an independent third party, contracted within 10 to 15 days to investigate fully the ministry, the entire ministry. And then you switch this over to IHOP Kansas City, and allegations come forward. According to IHOP Kansas City, allegations come forward on October 9th or 20th or something like that. And we're here now, the new year. We're about to be February of the next year. And literally there is no independent third party, agreed upon third party. What we have is lawyers that have been hired internally to investigate Mike Bickle, not independent third party to investigate IHOP Kansas City, the allegations against Mike, as well as all of the sexual misconduct, mishandling over many, many, many years. And so it shouldn't take 3 months. It shouldn't take 3 months, and they should be willing to open up the books. Now, to catch some of you up that maybe don't know this, but if you rewind a little bit, there were allegations against a man named Brad Tebbett that had sexual misconduct with that had sexual SA, okay, with a minor in the 90s, I believe it was. And he was on staff and leading an internship as of 2018 at IHOP Kansas City. And when it was made known to everybody, they invited in Grace, which is a third party that did an investigation. And afterward, they suggested that they let go of this man and get him off staff. Well, they did not release this man. We found that he was still on staff, and he was actually working with minors, 14 to 17-year-olds, to recruit them into IHOPU, and he was placed in that position by none other than former IHOPU president David Slyker, okay, who stepped down after the leaked audio. So what we've watched over the years is that they constantly mishandle these type of things. They do not take them seriously. No matter what their words say, their actions show that someone that was an SA alleged SA abuser, right? So allegations of that, was still on their staff working with minors even after they knew what this man did many, many years ago. So it shows the way that they handle these things, the way that they might say they take them seriously, but they do not. Now, if you go to, I believe it's IHOP KC Stories. I'm going to go find it right now. Let's see. Google is your best friend when you need to find something. IHOP KC Stories. There it is, IHOPKCstories.org. I'll share screen here. Let's see. Share screen. IHOPKCstories.org. Our stories. It's intense, you guys. It's super intense. The stories that have come out, you see 2014, 2008, 2023, 2005 to 2023. There are hundreds of stories of SA, as well as which would be, you know, sexual issues there, mishandled, as well as just spiritual abuse type stuff, story after story after story on this website. Now, why do we point to this? Because if you look at the head, okay, so Mike Bickle is accused of grooming a 19-year-old, all right? Grooming a 19-year-old when he was 42. and he prophesied that his wife would die, and that when she did, he would marry this 19-year-old and they would lead the prayer movement together. Now, when that happened, that groomed her into a relationship over time that ended up being a 4-year sex relationship, okay? Everything but the full act of sex is what's basically said. Now, is what's alleged and what she testifies to, okay? And it's been reported that she testifies to this. Now, all of the former IHOP leaders that are speaking of this said she came to us, her and her husband told us these things, and we were floored. Our jaws hit the floor, and we went, what in the world? So they looked into these things, and as they dug into it, many of them said, I could not believe it when I first heard it, but as we dug into it, they brought in Sam Storms and Michael Sullivan, and Michael Sullivan, who's the former pastor along with Mike Bickle at the time, said, I heard that prophecy as well. And they found another woman that came forward with the same prophecy that Mike gave her back in the 80s. Are you hearing me? So this man has been doing this allegedly since the 80s. It is absolutely mind-blowing, completely mind-blowing that this would happen, okay? But there it is. So here we are now at this point, and instead of hiring a third-party independent investigation firm, they have continued to delay by saying, and this is what Stuart Grieve said, he said, we're going to first do an internal investigation to see if the allegations are worth hiring a third party to actually look into it. And what they have done is put the delay button on and hold off anybody from the outside looking in. And so they're doing their own internal investigation. Now, so much pressure hit that Stuart Grieve stepped down from that position, thankfully. But before he did so, he hired a PR person, Eric Voles. This PR person runs something called the David House, and he was formally accused of RAPE in a foreign country, and as well as KILLING, his former girlfriend. Okay, that was what he was accused of. He was put in prison for a year for that, and then he was released and said that he was innocent. Okay, so that's his history. He is the PR spokesperson in this situation. So here's this situation, and people do have their opinions about him and that case and all that. I'm not here to talk about that. But let's just say everything is as he says, okay? Fine. But that is a completely different scenario and situation than what's happening with Mike Bickle right now. This man is touting IHOP KC and basically the face of IHOP KC. And he said at one point they separated completely from Mike Bickle. So they pushed Mike Bickle off to the side, but they're still propping up IHOP KC. Now, why do we still care about IHOP KC, even though they've pushed Mike Bickle off to the side and said they've permanently separated from him? Because the way that IHOP KC has handled things over the years is so concerning that same DNA is within all the same leaders that are there. Now, Eric Voles is just a face for a time, and he'll be gone eventually. But they put in Kurt Fuller, a general, okay, a former general, to lead IHOP KC in the meantime. Now, apparently, his daughter was Stuart Grieve's assistant, okay? So maybe there's some connection there, obviously. Isaac Bennett is grown up under all these guys, and he is now the leader of Forerunner Christian Fellowship and basically the pastor of the whole mission space, okay? So now he was in the private meeting with the whistleblower and Dave Slyker when the audio was recorded, and Dave Slyker was basically berating the whistleblower and saying that, well, they only knew 1% of the allegations. And as Gabe Hancock said, well, if it was 1% that pertained to my wife, I would be flipping tables about that 1% because this whole story is so insane that you can't pretend like that 1% didn't matter. It's pretty intense when you are grooming a 19-year-old as a 42-year-old worldwide minister, and you're accused of coming on to her in Paris when she's across the world and you're away from your wife and she's away from her family. That is just mind-blowing, and you can't take that any other way. Now, I look at some of these what do you call them, accounts online, and these guys that are saying like, well, she was, it was consensual, or this, that, and the other. And I go, how do you even, let's just go to one of these guys real quick here. Okay. So he says, actually, Jane Doe needed a worldwide recognized leader like Mike Bickle to help give her a nationwide platform at IHOP KC. The sexual claims, the SCX claims of allegations from Jane Doe is the story of a spiritually bankrupt teenager that needed to be fathered. She put that unfulfilled need on Mike. Are you kidding me? Okay, now look. JD's dad was friends with Mike. We know that, okay? What kind of dad would allow his daughter to believe the prophetic word of his friend Mike Bickle without having a conversation with him first? If you were Jane Doe's dad and she came to you for advice about this word, what would you tell her? Would you say, sweetheart, go for it? So here's what this man is doing. He's literally saying, he's turning this as, this man is pointing to Jane Doe as it being her fault. When you have a 42-year-old nationally known Bible teacher and prophetic leader, you're sent there as a 19-year-old, you go there as a 19-year-old, and he begins to prophesy these crazy things to you, but you're also enamored with his prophetic words. Now, that happened to multiple people because others have come forward saying this, all right? So to put that on her when he groomed her from a power dynamic, and people go, well, what is a power dynamic? Dude, come on, all right? Come on, just think about this, all right? These guys, I don't know if they have daughters or not, but I'm telling you, if you are a 19-year-old young girl and you show up and you're away from your family for the first time and you're around all this prophetic stuff and you've heard all these great things, and when you listen to Jennifer Roberts' testimony about this, in fact, let's just see if we can go into it right here. Let's see.
You've been through this yourself in terms of moving from this kind of intimate abuse relationship into actually blowing a whistle. How hard is that?
It's so hard. I think for women, period, to come forward with any kind of sexual allegation, the reason it's 92% of the stories are true is because it's so hard to do it. Because immediately the light gets shined on you. Well, what were you wearing? What did you say? What did you look like? You wanted it. So you already have to cross all those hurdles to come forward. And now in this case, you got to cross all those hurdles. Plus you're dealing with someone with followers that are into the millions. And who are you? And the risk for Jane Doe and Jane Does to come forward is enormous. They have everything to lose, and they're welcoming a microscope of scrutiny upon their lives for something that they're a victim to. So what
exactly.
What do they have to gain?
Exactly. So literally, this woman's 19, and she's prophesied over, and then come on to, if you read the Royce report, they were in Paris he was with multiple young women, and then I think one guy on a trip to Paris. And then he took her specifically out, and then he kissed her in a back alley. So this guy and many others would be like, it's her fault. Okay, all right, that's the take. Well, that's a pretty strange take to me. I like what this guy said. He said, Mike Bickle said, quote, I sinned by engaging in appropriate behavior. My moral failures were real, which that is what Mike Bickle's statement was. He did not give very many details to what he did, but he at least said that. This guy here says, what does JD's dad have to do with that? What kind of a man would prophetically manipulate the teenage daughter of a friend for his own sinful indulgence? Anyway, I just think it's so wild the way that some of these accounts are engaging with this story, and how just kind of, I don't know, just kind of sad it is, frankly, that the scrutiny should be on the worldwide leader that groomed someone half his age. He could literally be the dad of this person. And for some reason, it's so hard for us when we have heroes, idols, men that we have said they're the best Bible teacher I've ever heard, or a really great Bible teacher, or they're very prophetic. Their teachings have influenced our lives in such a massive way that it's literally like they can do no wrong. And if they do wrong, then our next step is to go, well, what did the other person do wrong? And I see all these accounts, like these young guys, you know, saying this kind of stuff, and it just really makes me wonder, number one, are they married? Number two, do they have any daughters? And if they do, they really need to rethink that take, because I feel for daughters that would be brought up under that kind of thought process, and wives that would live in that kind of a situation. Anyway, moving on. So these videos that came out, you've got Alan Hood, Wes Martin, and Dwayne Roberts on one of them, and then you've got Elizabeth Herder and Jennifer Roberts talking about the allegations. Listen to a couple more parts in here with them.
Everything. And I don't think people have actually done the math on that. It's tragic.
Yeah. One dynamic that I noticed that goes along with this is that when there were questions about women interacting with Mike, me included, kind of blamed the woman. Right? So there's different women that have this unusual access to Mike, we'll just say that. And I personally observed numerous ones of these, and I would always excuse in my mind, absolutely Mike would never be involved in anything inappropriate. So gosh, she must be a little bit obsessed. She must be a little bit off.
Yep.
And like this
you got mental instability so quick.
Yeah, so because I truly with my whole heart believe he was incapable of anything like this.
So this is the take of the women that were all around IHOP for 25 years, which means they were around Mike for 25 plus years. And one of these women here, Elizabeth or Jennifer, actually says she saw a woman playing footsie with Mike, or Mike playing footsie with a girl, and that she just said, that's just Mike. He's just being silly. He doesn't know. Because the way that Mike had basically framed himself was that he would never do anything like this. And I heard that so many times. And honestly, I even said that when this first came out. No way. Like Steve Strang, when you listen to Steve Strang's report on this, when there's no way this is true. So many people that like, no way, never Mike. Mike can never do this. Then you see pictures of Mike literally holding girls in a chokehold. Okay, if you don't know what I'm talking about, let's go, let's see, let's go to Austin Roberts' account real quick. I think his name is Starchasm on here. Starchasm. I don't know. Let's see, Austin. Where you at, bro? I don't really know how to find you on here, dog. Let's see. There you are. All right, that's how it is. Starchasm. All right. So let's see. This is the picture right here of Mike holding two young girls in a chokehold, being silly. Okay, look, he's laughing. They're in like an apartment here, and he's holding them jokingly. But imagine, and I've actually seen people defending this photo and go, well, it's just Mike. It's just Mike, like he's just being silly, da-da-da-da. But this is not being silly. I would never think to put I'm 41 years old, okay? I'm 41, and I'm not in a pastoral role right now. I have been a youth pastor. I've worked in ministry for years, but it's been probably 10 years since I was in ministry. But I'm imagining, let's say I was 30 and there was an 18-year-old girl in the room. I would never think to just kind of jokingly put them in a chokehold. Go, well, he's a boxer. That's what people say. He's the son of a boxer. He grew up in gyms. That's fine. I've been around. One of my best friends is a jiu-jitsu trainer. I've never seen him do this to a woman. Ever. This right here, what you do in the light is a fraction of what you would do in darkness. And that's just, there you have it. Let's go on to, let's see here. I want to encourage you guys to all go to this go to YouTube and go to the Advocate group. As you can see, within the first 10 hours, they've gotten almost 1,000 subscribers. This right here is where they're going to be posting, and this is going to be it's big stuff that's really coming in a timely manner that is needed right now, because frankly Eric Voles and Misty Edwards and people like that are coming out with these statements right now that are so contrary to the story of Jane Doe, and defending Mike and defending IHOP KC. And you've got to realize that these people, like, let's watch this one here. This is Alan Hood. He was there for 25 years since the inception of IHOP. And he's like a father in the movement. And you got to listen to these guys to realize, like, oh, wait a second. These guys aren't what Rick Joyner said they were. Absalom trying to take over the throne or whatever. These guys are just normal dudes that thought that Mike would actually repent when they confronted him. So let's listen.
20 of us on that night, he preached to millions, right, and set a context of division. Yeah. And that alone, so if it was hearing her being shocked and going, I'm not sure, I've never seen this side, then how he responded and lied to the husband. And
so what he's saying in context is he was approached in August or maybe June or July or August by the first Jane Doe and her husband, and he heard the story and he was shocked, okay? Then they bring the allegations to the leadership team, to Stuart and Dave and Lenny and all these guys, and they're open and they're all kind of weepy and all this stuff. I think it's in September or so, then, or maybe early October. Then immediately, October 20th, okay, so the allegations have already been brought. Then October 20th, Mike preached that there would be great betrayal in the body of Christ, and he preached this thing called the Black Horse Prophecy. The Black Horse Prophecy is the prophecy about IHOP's prophetic history that basically says that any type of attack against IHOP KC is a demonic attack to bring down the prayer movement to stop God from saving Israel through IHOP KC's prayers. So October 20th, Mike gets up there after already hearing these allegations, after already meeting privately with Jane Doe's husband, which Mike would not allow Dwayne to be in the meeting. He privately met with Jane Doe's husband, which is insane to me. Imagine if you find this out 20 years later about your spouse, that they went through this type of thing, and then the leader of now a multi-million-dollar ministry and millions of people influence says, I will not meet with you and Dwayne Roberts, I'll meet with just you privately. That is mind-blowing. But anyway, this is the context of what Alan's talking about here.
Then spiritually manipulated in the email. Then the third thing was the preaching on the Friday, and that was when I said, I cannot be silent. This cannot go on. And just, so I agree with...
What did you do as a result of that?
Well, I wrote him.
Okay.
I immediately emailed him because I wanted to be able to confront him one-on-one. I live in South Florida. I don't live in Kansas City, so I could not even ask for a meeting, but I wrote him. And in that, said, I went through my story of the anguish of coming into this, how I came into it, how I've been trying to walk this out, but after this week, and after seeing you preach on this, I'm convinced you look more guilty than not. And for the first time, you look like a cult leader, honestly. I've never thought that or said that, but in that moment, it was the lowest point I'd ever seen, Mike, at that point. And just to go circle around, now that you know how we all came into this and how we all...
Alan Hood, 26 years, basically spiritually fathered by Mike Bickle, says here, privately, I emailed him after he preached the Black Horse Prophecy on October 20th, 11 days after he had initially had the meeting with Jane Doe's husband. Alan said, you look like a cult leader. That's pretty heavy. So when people say IHOP is a bit culty, you've got the guy that literally was the president of IHOP as well as others that helped co-lead IHOP for years. This is not like out of left field. This is a guy using prophecy to prepare you talk about individually grooming. Let's talk about organizational wide grooming. You know that something's coming down the pipe with massive controversy. So you pull an old prophecy out and you say the black horse is coming, betrayal culture is coming, like it is a sign of the end times, and brother will betray brother, and when we see this, we've just got to love through it. Basically preparing a bunch of people for October 27th, which was 7 days later when these allegations first came out publicly. Mind-blowing. That is called prophetic manipulation and grooming. It is absolutely insane. Let's go on here. Let's see if there's a couple other... let's see, how do you get on your own? Okay, let's see, how do I get on my own profile? I'm literally like a boomer when it comes to X sometimes. Let's see, where are you at? Oh, there you are, profile, okay. I think I have like some, here we go. Here's a good one.
He said that the Lord had showed him 3 preemptive strikes against.
Okay, this one is insane, and you'll have to forgive me because I think I get a text from my brother during this, and it like pops up on the thing. It's like, so it's kind of annoying. But anyway, I would screen recorded it or whatever. So this is insane. When he basically says, so the context is Mike starts to say in his sermon about the black horse that God encountered him for 3 hours about upcoming controversy and betrayal, and he uses certain scriptures, and he says like Isaiah 55 and a couple other scriptures, and Alan actually breaks down what those scriptures say, and it is like veiled threats. It's crazy. So watch this.
That is, the accuser of the brethren, the spirit of accusation, the evil one. And he used Psalm 18, that the Lord released tokens of heavenly storm glory against this assault. And he used Psalm 55, where David prays for his friend who was the betrayer to go down alive into hell, to Sheol. And so when I wrote him, it was, are you really praying for tokens of heavenly storm glory to kill Jane Doe? Are you really praying for heavenly tokens of storm glory to kill honest, sincere brethren who are coming to you with a legitimate accusation? This is unthinkable. Now, he might wordsmith that and go, well, I'm praying against the powers that are behind y'all. Really? This was another level. This was not, we are not betrayers coming. We are not Absalons. And I wrote him in that, and I said, you keep saying it's a Psalm 55 betrayal moment. I actually think it's a Psalm 51 repentance moment, and Nathan has showed up at your door, and you've mistaken it.
Wow. 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 Alan bringing the heat, and this is why we have been waiting for Alan to have a word in this. And Alan, I appreciate you, and frankly, you don't have to say much. You just have to say a few things, and we hear it loud and clear. Because for whatever reason, but God has given you a voice in this thing, Alan, that is like booming, and your sincerity and your biblical understanding and your approach and your humility is so helpful. Later in this video, I don't want to try to find it on here, bore you looking for it, but later in this video, Alan said something that was so striking to me. He said, we want a third-party investigation. We want an independent third-party investigation, not an internal investigation with Lathrop LP and your private investigating lawyers that just everything stays internal. We want a third-party independent investigation. We want somebody that can come in and take a look. Why? Because we've all been spiritually fathered. Alan made such a great point. He said we've all been spiritually fathered by Mike. So that means Stuart, Sliker, Lenny, Dave, Dwayne, former ELT, current ELT. They've all been spiritually fathered and looked up to so highly Mike Bickle. So how can, and I heard that Stuart Greaves said this to Gabe Hancock. He said, we are well within our rights in the American system, but also biblically to do our own internal investigation. That is well within our rights, and it's biblical to do it. Not this cultural thing that's new. This cultural, well, just get a third party that's trauma informed or this type of thing. Well, frankly, Stuart and others that think this way, you've got to understand that you have been led and manipulated prophetically by this man to the point where you are literally falling on your sword for him. And Alan put it so well. He said, I would not trust myself to investigate Mike Bickle right now because I have been so led by him and so followed him. I would not trust myself to be an independent party in this. We need to get somebody professional that does this and invite them in and all take our hands off to do a full IHOP KC independent third-party investigation. And this is what Alan said later. You'll find it in the video. He said, if that happens, they will look at the last 25 years. And he said, you know what that means? They'll look at me. He said, they'll look at me, Alan Hood. Do you think I want that? No, I don't. But I want this because of justice. I want this. Now that, my friends, is the openness and honesty of a leader that says, Come on. I've literally, like, you see all these people, they're like, oh, everybody's trying to expose Mike Bickle. What if you got exposed? Look, if you don't have anything to hide, then you're not afraid of this type of exposure. The whole point is this man groomed women half his age and did SA to them. You think that's okay? Oh, just bring him back because his gifting and his calling and the prophetic and all the stuff on his life. Character trumps gifting all day long. And this, my friends, this is the indictment against American Christianity in the West right now. It's the indictment against charismatic Christianity. We need to stop our hero worship. We don't want to ever hear another sermon from Mike Bickle ever again, regardless of his anointing, the truth that could come out of his mouth, the great biblical teaching. We don't ever want to hear from it again. Why? Because of what he's done to be disqualified in this. We don't want to do this. And I would just say, I mean, I put out a post on X today. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, this is another thing here. Samuel Hood said earlier today, he said that this was not planned to come out, that this actually was something that was filmed on December 20th, and it was held by the ELT, but they were not made public because there was an intentional effort to cool down the temperatures as Boz was building bridges with IHOP KC. But in light of Eric Voll's escalating posts, this changed. And I'll just say, and I actually put out a post today about Eric Voll's, and I just felt this. You know, I just felt this today. I said, Fuller needs to fire Voll's immediately. He has shown partiality the entire process. He is not a son of this house. He is a paid spokesperson for an organization, I know I misspelled it, that only pops his head up in the moment when the armchair investigators bring the information to a boiling point. Fuller would call me and folks like Joel Richardson an enemy. Voles would be the paid punching bag for them, all to save the organization. Spelled it wrong again. Voles said if there was a victim, he'd be the first to support them. Well, it's too late. Every person, including Isaac Bennett, who stands with this organization, wrong spelling again, at this point, as a leader, with the information known from the former ELT, who was in good standing, is simply fighting for a dangerous organization with a DNA that will not be purged by lawyers or PR people or even, dare I say, a general. No, this is the Lord. He's the great shepherd of the sheep that is done with the songs that are currently sung to drown out the cry for justice. I'll end with that, folks. I'll end with that tonight. Go watch these videos and see for yourself. We could get into the misty statements and things like that, but I'm not even going to do that right now. There's going to be articles coming out and big articles coming out this year about all this stuff. I'll just say, pray for IHOP KC, pray for everyone involved, pray for the Jane Does. There's more than one Jane Doe. And frankly, we need a cleaning house. I just really believe in the area of SA and immorality, sexual immorality in the church, and in clergy and all this stuff. We need a cleaning of house, and we need a higher standard. And I really believe that the Lord is highlighting this because he wants to clean house, because he wants shepherds after his own heart. So, Lord, I just pray for IHOP KC. I pray that you would do a purging of all the evil, and you would do if this place is to stand, that I pray that they be established on righteousness and justice and the fear of the Lord and the love of God and your word and your truth and new leadership, shepherds after your own heart. Lord, we pray for Jane Doe and her family, all the Jane Does. God, we ask for your grace and your peace to be on them. Lord, we ask for healing in their hearts. Lord, I ask for every person out there who's experienced just trauma and any of these things, that you would just give them courage, give them healing, give them hope. In Jesus' name. If you've experienced something like this, I want to encourage you, especially in the context of IHOP KC, to actually reach out to Boz, or if you reach out to us, we can direct you as well in who to talk to. Okay? God bless you guys. We love you guys. Take care.